Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. We're in the backyard and it's the day after the big D23 Parks panel announcements.
Yeah. So we figured we would make a video. A lot of people always ask us, especially after Disney does like big announcements and everything, like, hey, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions on the whole thing? So we're going to kind of give those to you. We've kind of had the morning to sit and think about stuff. We watched the panel last night with Dylan from Theme Park Obsession, our friend Carter, Jeremy, Drew. So we all kind of sat and watched, and I liked watching with them because they are huge theme park people. They're coaster dudes.
Yeah.
Jeremy's a little bit more on the Disneyland side with us. So, you know, it was pretty cool to like get a mixed reaction from all of us. So
all of the enthusiasts of Disneyland and Disney parks and all that, but like each having their own
their own little like area.
Yeah.
So a lot of you might be wondering, like, if not everybody watches every single thing Disney that we do, but D23 is a fan convention that happens every couple of years. It's kind of like a Comic-Con, I guess you could say. There's panels, there's a show floor, long lines. We've done it before. I think we like gave it the college try, and we kind of realized like it's not really something that we prefer doing.
Even like Comic-Con, you'll see
conventions, I should say.
Right, because we did Comic-Con, and we got to get to the floor and all that, and it was awesome.
It was
because
cool,
I've always wanted to do it, and I always wondered, you know. But in doing D23, I think we both realized these are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
And for us, it's just not anything we're into, and that's just us. But the announcements are what we're into.
Yeah, they are, and I think that goes to say, like, we do pay attention to what the announcements are.
Yeah.
We're not big on, like, there's a lot of merch lines and there's stuff like that, and people absolutely love it. It's kind of like, you know, I'm glad we got to try it. It's like tasting ice cream flavors. You find out which flavor's your favorite. And
it's a good analogy.
I think as far as conventions go, we've decided conventions aren't really our thing. That doesn't mean we'll never go to one again, but you know, that being said, D23 is still really big, really exciting.
Yeah.
Now, the change they did this year, D23, they hosted it over at the Honda Center.
Off-site.
And it was a whole different
a whole new
experience.
Skin.
Like, everything was so different.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be bigger because we knew this was coming up,
Honda
right?
Center.
And they had prefaced
separate tickets.
The fact that there was going to be a lot of music, which there has in the past, but I think this time they were going to up the ante, which was exciting. So when it came on, I was surprised to see, and pleasantly surprised, it had like an award show look, and I'm sure everybody noticed the production value was like through the roof. It went from a convention hall with a giant screen and people
like
standing in front of it, you know, and people just, you know, on floor seats, to a full-blown arena with like a Grammy look to it, you know, with a lighting package and steady cam on these shots, and clearly it looked the part. It looked like an award show, and it was, you know, really glossy.
And that was really interesting. It
was interesting for me, for sure, because that definitely, there was a lot of effort put into making it look that way and to feel that way. And so that was cool. They're up in the ante, and I think you're going to see more of that in the future from that. That's just the start of the new age of how to present that.
Definitely. I think I could have done without the whole like musical thing, but that's where they were going with it. So
I just dripped. Sorry.
So if that's what they were trying to achieve, I'd say they achieved it.
Yeah.
But for me, I found it was really hard to pay attention as they were kind of announcing things, because I get into a mode of wanting to hear news and what's going on, and I kept getting distracted, and I'd be like, oh, darn.
Because they jump around. And then that one thing, like before we get into all the stuff, when you're speaking of music, it was that comedy duo that got up there.
Rapid Fire.
And they did the rapid fire thing, and they did it in song. And there was a lot of stuff that they were kind of fast. The song was fast, and you had to go, wait, what did he just say?
It was rapid fire. It literally was what they said it was going to be.
Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting approach. While it was a creative approach to try to avoid, I think, some maybe some low, boring moments, or you know, things they didn't know how to They didn't know how to present, you know, certain things, so they just went bam, 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 you know, like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, you'll see what we're talking about later, because there's one subject that they brought up, like they just glossed over so quickly, and I was like, what?
And I honestly, and when we get into it, I'll get more into it, but I think that it was it was a way to avoid getting a boo on certain things.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Regardless, there were a few announcements. Now, again, we are not going to really cover a bunch of the international parks and all that. We kind of cover Disneyland and do Disneyland just kind of like as casually, I'd say hardcore casual fans, I guess you'd
Hardcore
say.
casual, I like that.
Yeah, like hardcore casual.
Yeah.
We're not going to worry about certain crazy details because that's just not what we do. When we go to the parks, sometimes we look at construction because it's there and we think it's cool to look at and watch.
And it's the future,
history,
clearly.
right?
Yeah, so.
But we don't, go to that extent. So we're just going to talk about it from our perspective and what pertains to us and what may pertain to you. Yeah, like if you're coming to Disneyland, maybe you're traveling here, maybe you're a local, and then we'll probably touch a little bit on Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World. We've gone there in the past, and some of you are also going there or have been there.
It's kind of in our realm a little bit. So we like to talk about it, and like you said,
we don't have any current trips planned there, but who knows what the future holds. So that being said, let's get into it.
Yeah, I know what you were about to say.
What?
What Dylan says.
No, I wasn't. I was literally going to say, let's dive in.
And she was like, in her brain was going, dive right in.
I did it just now. I said, I was going to say, let's dive in. Wow, Katie. Okay, so I have a couple notes on my phone. I think the first thing that we need to talk about
Sorry, I keep sipping, but we have this really incredible, you made this?
So I got those, if you watched our Costco vlog, I got those.
I did.
You had to. I put some limeade and some fresh lime, and I put it with a little bit of water. I cut it with some water, but that passion guava strawberry drink.
It's phenomenal.
Mixed it. Anywho, I have a couple of notes on my phone, so if you see me referencing my phone, I'm not taking texts or calls. It's that I'm literally looking up some of my notes. So first thing, though, we do need to talk about was the thing that I was screaming about the entire night, and I've been screaming about it. And what happened to the announcement for Tomorrowland?
Oh, man.
What happened?
We're going right. She's going right for it.
No, I'm going for the throat because that was the first thing. I didn't know when we were going to
talk about that.
It was the first thing that stood out to me once it was finished was how did we talk about everything?
I have some theories about that. But, it's disappointing, especially considering, what their competition is doing. Mm-hmm. It'd be a good time to try to
plus it up.
Yeah.
Now, that could just mean that they just don't have anything happening.
Or that they didn't want to blue sky us again because they had mentioned
several times.
Josh tomorrow said this is not going to be any blue sky because, they got pretty panned for that. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably why we didn't get a mention. So it's almost like, well, you guys don't want blue sky, so we're not going to talk about that.
It very well could have been the situation, but
my other theory, though, I have this weird theory, and I don't know if it holds true because it doesn't really add up to the way that they have had a lack of response to the Universal thing. But I almost think that they're saving it as like, we need something for when Epic Universe starts, dominating. Even though that's East Coast, they still, as a company, would want something to, right?
Maybe.
And maybe they save that for later to we have something. Oh, by the way, we're doing a new Tomorrowland. I don't know.
You never know. All I know is we have a rotting people mover track that's been sitting there for almost 20 years. Yeah. Am I wrong? I'm not good with numbers, but
90s,
I'm going to say 20 years or so.
Or early 2000s. I forget.
It's been a while. We have empty buildings.
Yeah.
We have buildings underutilized. For instance, I'm sorry to DVC people, but I think the whole Innoventions building for just a little lounge and another thing.
It's nice, but
I'm not saying it's not nice.
It's a waste of space.
It's a waste of space. And for Chase Visa, I think it's kind of silly. So I'm hoping in the future that gets talked about, and I just thought D23 would have been the time we would have heard about it. Now, another thing, while we're in Tomorrowland, what happened to talking about the going green with Autopia? That was not touched on at all. I thought we would have had maybe a little something about that, maybe show us again, maybe it's what you said, though, where they're afraid of the blue sky thing, but I thought they were more definitive plans.
Also,
I don't know.
It also could, it could be the kind of thing where they want to turn D23 into more of what we saw because a lot of it was performance and I dare I say fluff.
They weren't doing a lot of showing plans.
Right, and maybe they're steering away from that and going, you know what, having to adhere to a every 2-year timeline and have all this stuff ready to announce, how does that apply to real life and creating things? Do you know what I'm saying? To where you have to, hold on, we can't announce that or do that because we got to wait for another year till D23. I think they're trying to maybe get away from having to be bound to that, as opposed to just like, hey, we have a bunch of stuff planned, but we're not going to announce it until we're ready and until it's timely enough and strategically timed too. So I don't know.
So I'm not completely, bummed about. I'm bummed about not hearing about Tomorrowland at D23. However, I don't think that discounts it completely. Like they're going to just completely ignore Tomorrowland.
I don't think so.
I think it's getting close to the time, and I think a lot of uproar has started online where it's like, whoa, you forgot Tomorrowland. But now we do need to talk about something that actually was announced that is definitive.
Yes.
Because while I had a ton of questions about things that didn't get announced at D23, I want to weave in stuff that was announced.
Yeah.
One of the things was the Walt Disney experience, the animatronic. For those of you who don't know, Abe Lincoln is over there. Now, there were lots of questions, and you'll hear that in this video, like, what about this, what about this, what about this? But something that was announced, it is definitive, it is happening, even though we don't have a timeline on it that I understood. We're getting a Walt Disney experience, an animatronic, just like Abe Lincoln. And
so cool.
The Abe Lincoln thing, if you're not sure what that's about, it's been on Main Street there since I think late 60s, if
Somewhere
I'm not
in the 60s,
mistaken. So cool.
But that building, by the way, the first building in Disneyland, that was the mill where they cut all the wood to build everything else. So
that's cool.
Just a weird tidbit, but so it does have importance. That building has a lot of importance related to Walt, so it's cool that this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, some people are a little bit like not stoked about it. I think I originally was like, oh my gosh, does that mean Lincoln's going away? And no, they are going to alternate them. So
Smart.
It sounds like it's going to be like a board. Who knows what changes will come after? But my question about this is that happening in time for the 70th anniversary at Disneyland?
I would put money on that.
I think that's a good bet.
I would put money on that.
The other thing is we basically, for the 70th, got literally just a picture of the Disney 70. That was it. Disneyland 70, I should say. Yeah. Which was a little bit, I was a little bit disappointed there too, because before the 60th, before these big anniversaries, they kind of show us what's in the pipeline for the next couple of years. Now, the 70th is happening next year. They didn't show anything. There was no fireworks, no parade, sneak peek, no nothing, which I think is really, really strange.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But going back to the Walt thing, it's an attraction with Walt Disney. You know, we finally got Runaway Railway, which is the first Mickey Mouse attraction.
Yeah.
Right? Now we get a Walt Disney attraction, and I was thinking about it, going, oh, what's it going to be like, and what's he going to say, and all that. I hope, and it's probably obvious, and everybody's like, well, of course, Spence, they're going to do that. But maybe, I don't know, I think he's going to do the speech.
I think they talked a little bit about it, about what the experience is going to be.
Yeah.
So we just haven't read too much about it. We kind of are just giving you our initial reactions.
And I'm saying, of course, there's going to be a lot,
yeah.
but I'm saying, I think part of it, or maybe the end, or at some point, the speech, the
Disneyland opening day speech.
We'll get to see him do it live, maybe right there. That would be honestly, anything of him speaking would be really cool, because for all the younger generation that maybe doesn't have a connection to that yet and doesn't really understand, might go, oh wow, there's that. I've heard about this guy that built this place, and I've overheard conversations in the park like that before.
It should be a good way to help carry on, Walt Disney's legacy and show the importance to the future generations.
I'm really pumped. I was super excited about that when I heard that. Genuinely, anything Walt, I'm like, cool. You know what I mean?
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
And then the little performance they did, that was one of the musical numbers that I found absolutely, probably top tier. Actually, it might have been the only one next to John Stamos in the beginning.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I think that singing the Mary Poppins, oh my God, Feed the Birds, and then the tribute to the brothers, I mean, oh my gosh, it was amazing.
That was a great great way to start because, as most people who are fans of Disney in any fashion know that John Stamos is a super fan. He has the Disneyland park, the original sign, like in his backyard.
Yeah.
The one that was on Harbor.
The
dude.
Full House moment, though.
And Full House, and it was kind of a full circle moment too. It was just really cool.
It was awesome, but again, I do still wonder though, as far as the 70th goes, I can't stop going back to that, and it's like back at last year's panel, or sorry, not was it last year? Whatever. Panels prior, we were introduced to Paint the Night. We were introduced to World of Color 1 last year. We were introduced to... So the fact that there were no shows talked about for Disneyland really was concerning for me. Same thing over at the Hyperion Theater. That's still an empty theater. I thought for sure we were going to hear something about that.
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't announced because it's so small, and then I know there's something going on with the performances and I think a strike. I'm not 100% sure. So maybe that had something to do with it, but it was a little bit of a low point for me, not knowing what's happening for the 70th, not hearing anything about performances and shows because it's a big part of Disneyland. But another thing that was announced was a Coco dark ride.
I've been saying, how long have I been saying this?
You've been saying, I want a Coco ride.
I would do a deep dive into our videos and do a smash cut of me, how many times I've said it. Because it's numerous times. Maybe there's a program that we can go do that. I don't know. Anyways, I've said it. I've been saying it for a long time. And I just initially had said Coco Dark Ride, which it kind of is. A boat ride's a dark ride.
Yeah, I think we only saw one piece of the concept art, and whatever it was, it did look amazing.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's not going to start breaking ground until 2026, if I understood that correctly. And I can't believe now we're also getting a Pandora attraction and a Pandora Land.
Yep.
That's also going in DCA.
That's amazing because that place over there in Animal Kingdom is unreal, and the nighttime, situation with everything glowing is just it's phenomenal. And I think for us it'll be good because the park stays open.
Our parks do stay open later
into the evening, whereas Animal Kingdom closes early because you can't be disturbing the animals and all that stuff.
But it used to stay open. That was actually a 2020 thing. I think that was a 2020 cutback.
Is that what it was? I don't know. I thought it was for the animals. Anyways, regardless, we've only been there I think 2 out of the numerous times that we've been to Animal Kingdom did it stay open late enough to be dark to experience all that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm excited that we get that.
Me too. And the attraction, I'm wondering if the attraction is going to be similar because the way the person that was describing that, they kind of made it sound a little bit more thrilling. So I'm wondering, is it going to be like the Pirates ride in Shanghai? I'm very curious, and not just an attraction, but we're getting a land that, again, it looks absolutely beautiful just from the little concept art.
Yeah.
I was truly like, wow, that very much surprised me.
Because it's based on the sequel. So, The Way of Water.
The sequel and sequels coming.
And the things to come. Yeah.
They said it's something never before seen, so that's cool. So between Coco and Pandora, I feel like those are 2 awesome things. Now, again, I feel like they're going to probably not even be completed and open until, maybe 2028, 2029,
Yeah, it'll be a long time. And then over in DCA, they finally confirmed that new attraction that's been talked about since the inception of the Avengers Campus.
Avengers Campus is basically, they said, expanding, almost doubling in size.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the new attraction, and then they're getting another new attraction. That's the Kuka arm looking thing with Iron Man.
Yeah, the Kuka arm, if you're not familiar, is basically the car factory arm, that builds the cars, that weird thing that they have used for attractions all over the world. They used it on Ellen's Game of Games.
I think we saw one at Legoland.
Yeah.
Remember? We saw one at Legoland?
I've worked with them. When I worked on Ellen's Game of Games, they had
like
3 of those things. Yeah, and we would strap people into them and dunk them in goop tanks, like green goop.
Oh, wow.
And they would program them to do this. It was crazy.
I will not be riding that attraction.
Yeah, they're just big versions of those Kuka arms. And anyways.
So the other one, though, is from what I'm understanding, everybody online has been talking about that it's going to be similar to Transformers. and the Peter Pan attraction, like somewhere between that.
That's
if
really
it's
cool.
anything like Transformers, I will not be able to do that for sure.
I love Transformers.
Yeah, you didn't go on it, did you, when we were in Universal?
I've been on it at Universal Hollywood.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, is it the same? Yeah, either way.
It's an incredible ride.
Yeah.
But it's been a bunch of years since that I've been on it, but
Either way, it's not something I'll be on. And again, we didn't dive like too far into looking at all the little details that have been released.
But those timelines for that are like what?
Later too. Because
that's later, yeah.
Now, that's another thing. They were so vague on timelines. I think some of them they didn't even give timelines, if I'm not mistaken.
Even though they prefaced that like none of this is blue sky.
Yeah.
All this stuff is actually in the works. It's being either planned or shovels are in the ground. So that could mean a whole host of things that plans are literally being drawn up.
I think Dylan made a whole list of the things that didn't have timelines.
Yeah.
And it's kind of confusing. A lot of most of it said it's not starting until construction isn't starting until 2026.
Yeah.
So again, I don't remember which is which. It's all a little confusing. But I do know I was reading something about how, as part of Disneyland Forward, which they didn't talk about at the convention. They didn't talk about it at all, which I thought was another kind of strange thing.
Well,
but I guess there's a
there's
a parking garage that needs to be built first before they can even start breaking ground on some of these things. So that's where it got a little bit confusing for me.
Well, they don't want to show all their cards.
Yeah.
And I think that the Disneyland Forward thing, my theory, this is just what I think. I don't know anything. But I just think that, and what I had heard also, was that was about zoning and creating a bigger area to do things in, to expand outside the park, right? Whether or not the stuff that was proposed within that to gain that access to that zoning will come to fruition. It might have just been a vehicle to get the zoning, and then they can change their mind and do whatever they want now because they got the zoning. So now they can work a little and figure out what they want to do.
Yeah.
That's my theory. I don't know if that holds water, but we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah. Another thing for sure that's happening is we're getting some Mandalorian and some new stories for the Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon ride. I know a lot of people that'll be excited about that. I still do that attraction. It's not like, because it's a little more simulator, it's not like my go-to attraction.
Yeah.
I have to kind of be feeling in the mood to do it.
And the screen is so good that
it's good. Yeah. It's a good attraction to do with a group of people. You know what I mean?
As far as like a release date, when they open that for Smugglers, I think they're delaying that. They probably could put that thing up pretty quick, but I think they're going to align it with the Mandalorian season. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that would actually be cool. Yeah, something to
it'll go
connect.
in tandem. Yeah, they're not just going to like release
throw it out there.
Yeah.
Another thing that they glazed over that we were talking about earlier when they were doing the rapid fire thing, they said Critter Country is now going to be Bayou Country.
Oh yeah, they flew by that because
they went by that fast
because they didn't. I don't know. They didn't want to hear it probably because it's just a weird.
I like Critter Country.
I
mean, I guess I don't know. It's all kind of mishmashy over there because like Winnie the Pooh. Then you have Bayou Country. Winnie the Pooh and friends live in Bayou Country, but then you have the Country Bears because that's going to be Country Bear Barbecue.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. I'm correcting you.
I'm sure I am.
I'm just kidding.
I probably am, but I just want to talk about it
We probably
anyways.
are on a few things.
Isn't New Orleans Square? I guess it's not in the Bayou. It's in New Orleans, which is more the city.
I guess.
And the Bayou would be more
more towards
the back.
Yeah, the other side.
The backwoods or the rural. Okay, because I was like, isn't Bayou New Orleans or North?
Yeah, that's what's happening. That's all we know, though. They just said, and Critter Country is going to be Bayou Country, and that was it. Like, that's all they said.
Okay, so my point is that New Orleans Square, but New Orleans essentially is extending because the Bayou is Louisiana, right, and all that. So.
But it just doesn't make sense to me. Also, why didn't they tell us anything about maybe because it wasn't big enough, but I thought maybe we'd get a little sneak peek at like something about the Country Bear Barbecue instead of the Hungry Bear restaurant. I thought there might have been a little bit something about that. Another thing that was like super cute was the Deadpool thing. I think that kind of brought the energy up a little bit. People really seemed to like that.
Well done.
I was laughing. The thing that like kind of cracked me up, but then at the same time I thought about it afterwards, it cracked me up when he made a joke about the Murphy Maleficent dragon. But why didn't Disney bring up anything about that? Like, it was funny. I'm glad they like were self-deprecating humor. That was so cheeky and so funny. But it made me think about it. Why at D23 did they not even mention anything about a replacement?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was a little bit
like... There's a lot of stuff they didn't talk about, and I think that...
There was so much.
I think it's like, to them...
I almost left with more questions.
Well, they probably have a giant list. And a lot of that falls into like minutia, where it's like, does the world really want to know about the dragon that's in the Fantasmic show at Disneyland Park?
Yes.
And of course, I would say yes, but
maybe do casual fans.
Yeah, and they're like, we want to lean more into
the big picture,
the big stuff, and the stuff that we can put a song to, and now we can have a performance, and then the stuff that we can make a merch line around, and the whole, it's just like all this, I don't know.
Maybe that was, I mean, there's, again, I kind of left with more questions than I did answers. Some things to be excited about for sure. I'm not like, because I'm questioning a lot of stuff, and I did have some moments of disappointment, doesn't mean I wasn't overall happy. There's so much to look forward to, but this is what we do, though, as these kind of, I'd say hardcore casual fans like myself. I nitpick little things. That's what I do. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't where I did those sort of things. You know what I'm saying? So overall, though, lots of good things. Lots of good things at Walt Disney World. They're getting, you know, a Cars land in Frontierland. That was interesting.
That'll be interesting.
They alluded to the Villains Land, kind of confirmed it, that's coming. They're getting a new nighttime parade. So the Monsters attraction in Hollywood Studios. Lots of cool things coming to Walt Disney World as well. So overall, great things. I'm not mad about it.
What was it, like 10 or 11 things? Something like that.
Yeah, it was quite a few.
Like 11. It was like 11.
Yeah, quite a few.
You know, and then there was obviously mention of current projects, which they always do that. I mean, because they can. We didn't miss out on any of the usual D23 shtick.
Yeah.
The Tomorrow shtick of, there was at least 3 interruptions.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, what's going on?
Wait, who is this?
Right. We predicted interruptions. We always look for
those.
And
should we tell these people?
Oh yeah,
we were laughing about that.
The top secret information breach. Are you guys cool? It's just us in this room, right? They did that one. What was it?
They said storytelling. We had on our bingo card how many times they would mention storytelling. We started playing
a game to take shots every time that they said mentioned storytelling, and it just became too devastating. You know,
I didn't drink.
We should have known that that word was going to be overly used.
Yeah.
But so we weren't disappointed with that.
We had a really
Josh Tomorrow's
good time.
acting skills are getting better.
Yeah.
He's off the cuff when he was going back and forth with Deadpool.
I was a little bummed to see Iger, even though I know Iger's not to see Iger, to see not Iger. Wait, to not see
what was
Iger.
that, Yoda?
I was a little bummed to not see Iger.
Got it.
Even though he's on his way out, I was kind of like a little excited to see him come and say something.
I think they're priming Josh to be the guy, so they want
what I think too.
They want to keep him out front, and they don't. It's like Iger's kind of.
Yeah.
He's on the fade to black.
It actually makes sense, but
for the company,
he'll
go on to great things, I'm sure. But
I think the major thing I got out of this was like, awesome. There's a lot of cool things coming for the very distant future.
Yeah.
Excited, but also at the same time kind of bummed because Tomorrowland really just got snubbed, but there might be a reason for that. And hey, maybe more information about that, and the 70th will come out soon.
Yeah.
They may be just going big on the 75th. That's another thing.
That's interesting.
Go big on the 75, touch on the 70th.
Yeah,
but
75
that also could be a thing.
Yeah, you're right
it's
about that.
It's more of a number.
Because they try to avoid all the other ones. I mean, they don't avoid them, but they just kind of...
Yeah, Drew and Carter and I were talking about that.
I didn't think about 75, of course.
Yeah, so that could have been a good reason, too. So, like I said, there's just a lot. And we could go on and on and on, but we just kind of wanted to lightly touch the surface.
On.
every bit of our information is not like 100. We're kind of hardcore casual fans. I guess that's
Yeah, I just woke
what I
up,
said.
man.
So
You can't hold anything against me. I don't even know what's going on right now.
you had some margaritas last night.
Yeah, we had a few. That's how we celebrate the D23.
Anyways, cheers to the future of Disneyland. Looking forward to enjoying it all. And cheers to all of you for hanging in there. Hope you guys enjoy coming to Disneyland with us. We try to go at least once a week or so and have a good time and keep you updated on our home park, Disneyland.
Hey, we're actually going later today.
We are. Yay.
So stay tuned. And we'll see you next time on Best Life and Beyond. Bye-bye, everybody.